Welcome to the first Rolling Flame poker night. Jason, and Jason. Unfortunately, we're missing a sixth player, but we should get started. And good luck to you all. Well, that was enjoyable. Who could imagine having so many chips and so little competition? I think it's time to celebrate.
Sorry I was late. It's not really the etiquette for this type of game, I know. One hand for all of your chips.
What do you have that matches my winnings?
The keys to my very rare Ferrari.
But that exceeds all that I have.
We'll get to it.
Then let's play one hand.
Aha. A royal flush, you are utterly defeated.
This is all that I have.
It will not be enough.
Then what do you want?
A man of your talents, make me pastrami and short ribs.
Barbecue? Good morning and welcome to Rolling Flame. Today we're going to be cooking some pastrami in our bullet smoker, and for us, just to get the party started, we have to light up this here chimney starter.
Yay!
I've got it laid out so people can see what I might do with such a thing. Bit of paper. Do you want to film this one overhead? Might even just get it a little bit of a helping hand, not much. A couple of fire starters, some sticks, some charcoal, well, briquettes. Away we go. We'll just light the bottom. It should take off, hopefully. Pop that up there. We have flames. That's always a good sign. Okay, now onto the dry rub coating for the pastrami. The first thing I want to say is we'd always normally put salt in a dry rub, but because this is going to be done with the corned beef, it's already been in a brining solution for, I don't know, 5-7 days. I was a bit lazy and didn't actually brine or cure the meat myself. I literally just bought corned beef from the supermarket, or you can buy it from the butcher. I just happened to see it there and I thought to myself, pastrami, yum. So what we've got normally in pastrami is some coriander seeds which are crushed and some mustard seeds. The mustard seeds, I don't really want to crush those. We normally have some peppercorns, which we also crush in here, but I didn't have any, so I've got some pre-crushed pepper. I don't think it'll affect it too badly. To start with, I'm just going to put in the coriander. There's about half a cup. It smells very interesting when you're breaking this up. It kind of gets airborne and it's, I don't know, it's sort of an irritant. Gets in your nose and they jump out. So there we go. They're trying to escape already. Just capture those. Maybe I'll do that a little bit. Keep it in there. You could do this in a food processor, but it would be nowhere near as much fun. This is another purchase for life if you get one of these big pestle and mortars, or mortar and pestles, depending on which country you come from. Oh wow, the smell. It just says pastrami when you smell that. Wow, very, very strong and distinctive. In with the mustard seeds, a couple of tablespoonfuls, black pepper, say a teaspoon of ground ginger. This is just me. I've added a little bit of smoked paprika, but not too much. That's probably not normally in a pastrami. Secretly, just a little bit of cayenne pepper, just because I like a little bit of heat on this. I'm just going to turn this over with a spoon, like so. Just get everything incorporated. You'd be sneezing for sure if you breathe some of that in. Done. Let's get out the meat. So I was just at the local supermarket and I saw this, as I said, and I just thought pastrami. Now it looks pretty macabre in there, but that's just sort of the brining solution. So they very generously leave brining solution in there. Probably the brining solution also costs you $10 a kilo. So this is corned beef. If we were going to get some brisket and cure that for 5 to 7 days, you'd get something like that, which is, you know, basically corned meat. I'm going to let some of this liquid out and then we're going to wash this off. Imagine if that burst in the car, that would not be great, would it? Just let it out. Yeah. Yummy. Just going to put that in there. So what a lot of people will do is they will actually soak this for an hour or so, or sometimes even longer, just to get some of the salt out of the meat, because it's very, very salty. That's why I'm not adding any salt to this. I'll probably just give this a rinse off now, and then I'm just probably going to trim the fat off a little bit so that we've got about 5 mil of fat left, just like you would normally have on the top of a brisket. Then we're going to put the dry rub on and get it in the smoker. Yay! Oh wow, that's heavy. Oh wow. Bare feet, hot ashes. Woo! And there it is. That should last us all day, hopefully. Okay, so I've just brought this out after washing it. Just going to dry it off. Basically with some kitchen towel. I want to trim maybe a tiny bit of that fat off. I like it to be about 5 millimeters thick. The meat has a really unusual texture because it's brined. It's so plump and kind of juicy and slippery. Okay. You know, I don't think we'll mess with that too much. That's about 5 mil thick already. I'm just going to put it into this, we'll call that a seasoning tray. I would like to get some of this in there first. Press the meat into it, like so. So much of what pastrami tastes like comes from this coating. It just smells like pastrami, and it's only just a spice mix, basically. So now I'm just arranging the smoker. I'll save the top deck for something else, something special. We have the water pan all the way down there, as you can see, water pan. That should moderate the temperatures, add some steam, stop things cooking too fast. Okay, it's like sections of a rocket. Try not to spill the water on the charcoal. And then, doesn't need oil. I'll put it that way. There we are. Beautiful. That will take, I don't know, 10 hours. It's a double feature today. We're going to actually do some supermarket slow cook short ribs, it says on the side. So what I wanted to do is just show that you can actually get a fairly cheap supermarket cut of meat. Say they're about $10 or $11 each. They're delicious because they're in 3 ribs, and what I do is I quite often cook these in the wood-fired oven on a Sunday, the day after a pizza day, slice them into 3, wrap them up, and I take them to work for lunch, 1 minute in the microwave, and they are so delicious, sort of like a meat popsicle. A feature of this meat is they're from a hard-working part of the animal. They're on the rib cage. They're very marbled, so they've got a lot of intramuscular fat in them, and that kind of helps baste the meat from the inside. Plus, because they're a hard-working cut of meat, it has a great beefy flavour. If you actually put salt, pepper and garlic on this, that's all you really need. and then put some ironbark smoke, the flavour is amazing. In fact, I quite often do get in trouble for microwaving these for 1 minute in the office because the whole place smells like American barbecue, and some people sort of don't like that, and I apologise. Okay, I'm just going to get this piece of ironbark in there so it's ready to go for when the short ribs go in. So I'll just pop it in there like that, and very soon we'll see a nice blue hue of smoke coming out. There we go, you can see a bit of smoke starting to form. We'll just let that door stay open for a little while we prepare the short ribs. So I'll just do some unpackaging. Well, it looks like the butcher had a bit of a slash in there. Unlike brisket where you leave a 5mm fat cap on, I tend to take the fat caps off the short ribs. So without further ado, I'll just go in like this. Try not to take too much meat. You don't have to take this all off. To some extent it will render and offer flavour, but I think salt, pepper, garlic penetrates the meat better without this layer. Silver skin's a bit of a membrane that can be a bit chewy and tough, although the knife just went straight through that easily, so it doesn't look too bad. A square shaped cut, but what's going to happen is you've got these bones here, and they're very, very flat. They're the rib bones, 1, 2, 3, and as this cooks, the meat's going to pull back right up to about there, and the meat will bunch up and it will all sit at one end like a popsicle, and you can hold that like a paddle pop stick, which is very exciting. On the back, I just tend to cross hatch these like so, and the reason for that is it just helps helps it come off the bone when you're just eating it with your fingers. Believe it or not, that leathery membrane now actually becomes quite edible. Yes, it has more of a tough texture to it. Salt, pepper, garlic. So we need to be fairly generous. Salt makes the flavour pop. I could have mixed all these together and just dropped it on once. That would have been far too clever. That looks great. Look at that. Now we're onto the smoker phase. We're going to get these delicious looking beef short ribs and whack them on the old bullet smoker. Here we go, a big puff of smoke about to come out. Smoke signals, boom. Yeah, got some pastrami down underneath. Hopefully these all fit on the top deck. If not, there is another deck underneath. That'll fit, yes. Ouch, just burnt myself. It's just got that ironbark in there. We don't have to do very much at all now. We just have to go and play some sport, go to the shops, just let it do its thing, come back later. Once it gets to 3 or 4 hours, we might spray some vinegar and water on it just to keep the outside moist. But the funny thing is, as it evaporates and it gets wet and evaporates and gets wet, it actually seems to form a better crust. So I expect that the short ribs will only take, say, 5 to 7 hours. The beauty of that is there's no need to rush. Just let it do its thing and it's ready when it's ready. Simple as that. Okie dokes, it's been 6 hours since we put the beef short ribs and the pastrami on. So let's have a little look. I might have already had a sneak peek. So, as you can see, it's all sort of bunched up on that bone, pulled back as they say. Temperature we want about 200 or probe tender, and it's not probe tender. So it's about 176. That one's a bit more tender. Yeah, it's 187. Yeah, they're getting there. So 176. Sometimes I wouldn't wrap these, but because it's been a lower, slower, longer cook today, I think I'll wrap them just to retain a bit of moisture. Could be a wrong or a right move, who knows. 1, 2, 3. You can use foil, of course. That tends to seal it in a little bit better and makes it a bit more steamy in there, but it tends to make the crust go a little bit softer, and we like crust, so we don't want soft crust. Yeah, so I'm putting them back on and they'll kind of steam a little bit more. They'll tend to, basically there's this thing called the stall, and at around about 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a perspiration effect. So it's a cooling, evaporative cooling takes place, and the cooking process stalls. So quite often people wrap if they just want to make sure that their cook finishes on time. There's another thing, which is sometimes I think people can panic a little bit when they probe the beef and it's kind of still firm, and they're thinking, oh wow, this has been cooking for 6 hours. Something's wrong, I've overdone it. That's actually not the case. So what happens is, if you keep cooking and you start getting to around that 195 to say 210 Fahrenheit, the meat actually can turn to mush. It gets too mushy. So if it's tough, it means you have not cooked it long enough. Let's try one in foil and just see if it's any different. That way we can make a comparison. And then it's pastrami time. Just put that on the side of the wheelbarrow. Okay, so I'm thinking somewhere around the 160, 170. Yeah, so 165. So we want at least 195 to 205. So because this isn't necessarily a marbled piece of meat, it could actually dry out because it's the fat that keeps that meat juicy. So what I'm going to do is wrap it in foil nice and tight so that it actually kind of steams on the inside, because remember, this is for cold sandwich meat to make Reubens. That's going to be really nicely thinly sliced. So juiciness is my goal with this, juiciness and flavour. Try not to damage the coating too much. So we'll seal that up, back in, and I say that will, I'm guessing that will take another say 3 or 4 hours, literally because of that low and slow temperature. It's all about being gentle to the cut and making sure that it doesn't dry out, and it just literally should fall apart and be delicious. And here we are, the pastrami is now ready. It's reached about 205 Fahrenheit and it's probe tender. So I'm just going to put it into this foil tray and let it rest for about an hour or so. Actually, I'm just going to let it rest overnight. It's going to just reabsorb the juices in this esky. Believe it or not, it will actually stay hot in there for about 4 hours. It's just a nice gentle way to finish the cook. So that tray is a little bit too big for the esky, so I'll just put that on its side. And now we're just going to check the beef short ribs. So 2 of those I'd done in butcher's paper, and the other I'd done the Texas crutch, which is in foil. I actually found that the one done in foil became probe tender faster than the ones in butcher's paper. So then I switched over to foil for all 3 to finish off the cook shortly after you see me wrapping it back up in the butcher's paper. Okay, welcome back. It's some 10.5 hours after we started cooking this morning. We're going to try some beef short rib. The pastrami's been done as well today. We won't be trying that today because it needs to be refrigerated first. I've had some of the beef short ribs that were done in foil actually cooked a lot quicker than the ones that were in paper. So it's been resting for a while, whereas the ones that were in paper, I changed them to foil and now they're just right. And I was really worried about them because they'd been in there so long, and I'm thinking, wow, are these drying out? And they were sitting around 176 or so Fahrenheit, and then eventually I got up to my 200, and sure enough, probes like butter now. So it just goes to show we shouldn't worry. It's this one on the right. Still, wow, that's so hot, and that's been in this esky for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. So it just goes to show this actually helps the meat hold its heat and lets it rest. Take off this foil. It smells amazing out here. It literally just smells like a barbecue restaurant because we've had so much meat going, and then there's also, oh, okay, so that's a win for the people right there. That was unplanned, unscripted. Yep, so it's nice and juicy, nice and tender, and you know what I do. We don't use cutlery around here. It's got some bark on it. Delicious flavour, very beefy, very spicy. So, well, when I say spicy, it's just got the salt and pepper, the garlic. Look at the smoke ring. Obviously the bone just falls straight out. So it's really succulent. It's sort of really gelatinous. It melts in your mouth. It has obviously fat in this type of meat. It's really rich.
So you have to say salt, pepper, you got a bit of cayenne, you gotta tell them what it is.
I don't know how to describe it. It's just super delicious. Well, can't stop eating. Can't talk eating. Welcome back. It's 24 hours later and we've got the pastrami ready for the unveil. Basically it was smoked all day long and then it's been refrigerated overnight. It did look very nice. It was probing very tender. I'm just going to pull it out of this foil. The goal of the pastrami is to shave it really thin like sandwich meat, and unfortunately I do not have a deli slicer, so we just have this here knife. Let's have a little cut in there, and the meat will have set, so because it's been refrigerated it's gone from very soft to very hard, I would imagine, so that's just me guessing. Okay, and there, that's how it looks. So there you have pastrami with a little bit of juice on top, and look, it actually is moist inside, so that is just what I wanted. I'm going to try and slice it really thin. So this is the makings of a Reuben sandwich right here. So look at that, looks perfect. That's just what I wanted. Okay, so here comes the bite. Yeah, so it's cold. It's definitely a pastrami flavour. I get the coriander, the mustard seed. I put a little bit of cayenne pepper on the outside of that and it's really nice. So I'm really happy with that. See you next time.